Hi, it's Nancy Ralsma with On Point TV and Quilting with Nancy. Thank you very much for joining me today as I introduce my newest pattern. This is a pattern, honestly, I've had in my head for a long time, but it's taken me quite a bit of time to get it ready to publish as a book and to do as a video because honestly, it's English paper piecing. And if you know anything about English paper piecing, you know that that can be sort of time consuming, which is nice because then you're working on a project for a while. And the majority of this project I'm going to do by hand, but I'm going to show you today a couple of ways to do it by hand and how to do it by machine. But what makes my process very unique is I will be using a polyester stabilizer instead of paper, which means you do not have to take the paper out. So just so you know, if you have any questions along the way, you can always comment below in the video. You could also, if your question is a little bit more in depth, you could send me an email at quiltingwithnancy@gmail.com. That way I'm able to include links and photos and things like that, just in case your question is a little bit more involved than just a simple, hey, I like that kind of a thing. Do please give me some comments and thumbs up and things like that along the way. So first off, I'm going to show you my newest book. So this is the Diamonds book. This is English paper piecing by hand or machine, and I have put in here 18 different designs. Now, do keep in mind that these were all designed on electric quilt, and I actually started this process working with the members that are the design level members. What that means on my channel is when you're looking at like the beginning of my homepage, I guess, you'll see a button that says join. If you click on that, it'll give you all the information about joining membership. And the designer level membership means that we meet once a month to design on electric quilt tape. This project began there, and using things that I learned with the students and things that obviously I've learned myself so I could teach it, we designed this quilt. I do want to kind of note, if you are a design level member or a quilt addict level member and you want the EQ designed for this so that you could do your own colorings, just send me an email at quiltingwithnancy@gmail.com. That is one of the many perks for being a member on the channel, is that you can get that electric quilt file so then you can do some of your own coloring and arranging and stuff like that. All right. So here is the new book. It is, I think it's quite a few pages. It's about 49 pages. Here's the templates for doing the sashings. But this pretty much is how the book is designed. So I've got here a color picture of what the diamond can look like. Then the layout showing you all of the alphabets, the lines going through, that is going to tell you the side of the block. So for instance, this A piece has a long line on it. That tells you that it is the edge of the quilt block, and I will explain what that means. And then the actual templates come as one page. Now, I made them all so they could be photocopied onto this. This is Bosel's Creative Stable. It is a newer product for Bosel, but not so new about the stabilizer. What's new is that they have cut it down into 8.5 by 11 sheets, and it's packaged with 50 sheets in there, and each one is this. It's a I think it might be a tearaway. I'm not honestly sure because it doesn't matter to me because I don't take it out. What matters to me is that it washes up nice and soft. And I've done this on other projects also. I'll probably leave the links below to one of them, which is my mother's flower garden, where I'm doing large mother's flower garden designs. So these go through your copying machine. So you'll want to first pick up one of the packs of Bozel's Creative Stable, and I have put links below to where you can find all of the products. Then you'll take the book, the design book, and you will just photocopy them out. Now, I do want you to see that I've done this in 2 versions, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is only 16 blocks. There are 18 blocks in the book, and that will come out to a nice kind of not so much a twin size, but obviously you could add some more blocks to it. But what I have here are 2 different versions. I use the same colorway for both of the quilts and the same size diamonds. These all finish to about an 8-inch diamond. But this quilt is the one that I've done with the traditional setting, and this is what the sashings and the cornerstones in the book are all about. This quilt, I did it quilt as you go with my easy sashings technique. Now, I've showed you the easy sashings technique in 2 quilts now. One was my reversible quilt called Easy Sashings Reversible Quilt. And then the second one was when I did my latest Quilt As You Go log cabin. Now, that book, the original Easy Sashings book, is available on my website, but I now have a new version of the Quilt As You Go Easy Sashings technique, and this will take you through the first 2 that I just mentioned, the reversible, which is the original Easy Sashings quilt, and then my Quilt As You Go log cabin. Now, the Quilt As You Go log cabin does not have a book for making the log cabin. That's all in the video. But these 2 down here are new. This is my fractured glass set on point. So the new Easy Sashings technique will show you how to do Quilt As You Go Easy Sashing straight set and on point. And in this case, like the quilt behind me, it also will show you how to do it with a 60-degree diamond. Now, I don't mean to pat myself on the back too awful much, but I'd had viewers mention, hey, Nancy, could I do the Easy Sashings technique on point? And I was like, well, I think you can, but I've never tried it, so I'm not 100% sure. So I decided it was time for me to try it, and I came up with some really cool ideas for doing that. For the diamond one, the trick is that there are points on the edge of the diamond. So if you see here, all of these points. And if you had done that with the original Easy Sashings technique, you would have lost all the points. So I changed the sizes of things and show you how this can be done in a 60-degree diamond. Now that video, as of the airing of this video, is not out yet. The book is available on my website, quiltingwithnancy.com, but the video will be coming shortly in just the next couple of weeks. So you could pick up the Diamonds book now and then work on the blocks, and then you'd be ready to do it Quilt As You Go if you chose. All right? So that's what we are going to start with. So this is the second book. This is the diamond we are going to work on. This is the number 17 diamond. Now, for reasons I can't explain because I'm just not that well organized, the easiest block, which is diamond number 17, is diamond number 17 instead of diamond number 1. Yeah, probably should have switched that around, but it is what it is. This is your diamond number 17. And with this, here is again your layout, and I show you which pieces are on the edge of the block. Okay. So now we are to those pieces. Now I'm going to get some of this out of the way so I can do some cutting. Now I did, hold on 1 second. I know I have a rotary cutter around here somewhere. There it is. All right. So for this particular block, I had to do 2 sheets. So there is the diamond 17, just the main part of the templates, and then there's 2 additional ones that are on a second page. So when you make your copies, just keep that in mind. All right. So step 1 is going to be to cut these templates out as accurately as possible. And sometimes, like a piece like this, I might save it. There are many, many designs that have a regular 3-sided triangle in them, might be a different size, but if you made a mistake, you could always reuse this little piece of scrap. And I'm going to cut over here and just try to make it as accurately as possible. Okay. And then one more. There's the 2 extra ones. Then I would need to cut all of these out too. Now I'm not going to cut the whole thing, but I'm sure that you pretty much get the idea where you can save some of these larger pieces for some of the future blocks that you will be working on. All right. Now we're going to take it to the fabric, and I've decided for this quilt, because I'm making I'll make all the blocks with this, or at least a few of many of them. I decided to use a fat 8th collection. So on the quilts behind me, I am just using, I think, 4 colors, the red, the gold, the black, and the blue, and a few variations. So not just one gold and not just one red. So a few different things. But for this one, I thought it would be fun just to use either a fat 1/4 pack or a fat 1/8 pack. Any one of those packs with at least 20 pieces in it is going to be enough for you to do quite a few blocks. So here is the ones I'm working with. There's a few really good solids. There's a few really good lights. There's some different prints. There's some geometrics in it. So I thought this would be a really fun set to work that with. So for this particular block, I'm just going to choose this fabric. All right. So I've already done some of it with that. Now we're going to go to the tools that we use for this project, because I have to have those to do the next steps. So I have 2 ways of traveling. The super fun thing about English paper piecing, it is travelable. I don't know if that's a word, but I think I might have just made it up. It is travelable, so that you can actually do this without too many supplies. So this is what I call my big box. This is going to have some of my bigger pieces. It even can hold my clover needle threader that I'll tell you. And it's sort of like a little school box. All right, so it holds lots of little things. And then this is my super slim down travel version. For this one, I picked this up, I can't remember where, but it's a zipper bag with a clear top, so I can see what's in there. I can fold the paper, keep all of the pieces parts that I'm working on, so that's the parts to one of these diamonds. And then I have a slimmed down glue stick. The glue sticks, there are 2. There's more than 2. The idea is you want to use a glue stick that is water soluble and acid free. Again, there'll be links below where you can pick either of these up. This one I really like because it's got the blue on it, and I like that I can see that, but it does have, a bigger tip on it. So when I'm wanting to do precision things, then I will use more of the bohene, the slim down glue stick. And so this has lots and lots of glue on it. Keep in mind the pen is refillable. There it is. This is how the glue comes for refilling it. You just kind of pop it in there, and then you have a whole nother tube of glue like that. When I'm in my super slim down travel, I am going to put the needle puller, and I will explain to you how that works. I'm going to set that over there. Some Wonder clips. These are going to be great for keeping yourself organized. A small pair of scissors. My most important tool, which is my thimble. This is a very inexpensive thimble, but for me, it fits perfectly. If it's too small, you can put it in hot water and you can make it get a little bit bigger. But I love that it's under $5. I buy lots and lots of these, mainly because I lose them lots and lots too. And then instead of carrying an entire spool of thread, and I'll tell you a little bit more about the thread, sometimes what I'll do is I'll just take this is actually my insurance card, my old insurance card, or a piece of cardboard, and just wrap some thread around it. Take your scissors, and you can put a little nip in the card, and then that makes it so that you can actually put your thread in there so it doesn't come all wound. And then this is definitely big enough to hold a couple of needles. So being as this is a travel project, I thought it was kind of important for me to show you how I will travel with it. Another way I will travel with thread is to travel with pre-wound bobbins. So this is a 50 weight cotton pre-wound by Superior. So this is Masterpieces thread, 100% cotton. This works really, really great for traveling too. Now, if you're going to be using one of these threads, which I highly recommend, a 50 weight cotton, this is what we use. I'm going to tell you to get some Thread Magic. Thread Magic is a silicone thread conditioner. So pretty much that's a chunk of silicone. And if you will take your thread, and actually I'll do this after I thread the needle. So I'll show you now, but then I'll explain it later. Take your needle, run it through the silicone, then just run your fingers over it one or two times, and that will coat the thread so it will not get twisted and frayed up on you. Really, really works great. So that's the Thread Magic. That's by Taylor Seville. Again, links will be below to where you can get these products. So I've showed you my little traveling kit, what I will put in them, and this is where we're going to start. So I'm going to take my 2 B pieces. If I can find them again, there's one. All right, did anybody see the second one go? Yep, there it is. All right. So take your templates, and you're going to glue them onto the back of the fabric, and this is where I like to use a bigger glue stick because I need bigger coverage, and just put glue on the template and then glue it down. So one thing you want to do when you're gluing it down, well, here I'm going to save a little bit of fabric, is you want to be sure that there is at least a minimum of 1/4 of an inch of fabric going all the way around. And where there is a line telling you that this is on the edge of the block, you want to put that on the straight of the grain of the fabric if possible. It might not be possible, if you're working with little scraps. And make sure that there's at least 3/8 of an inch of fabric around that. Okay, so here comes my second one. I'm going to stick that one up here. This does not have any of the lines for the edges, so I just need to make sure that there is 1/4 of an inch all the way around. Now I will glue all of my parts down on all of my different fabrics, and then I'll start doing the cutting out. So it could be cut out by hand. I don't want you to think that you have to have a rotary cutter, mat, and ruler, because when you're traveling you might not, but you could take this and just cut it out by hand, leaving the extra 1/4 inch. Okay, that totally works. But what I like to do more is I like to actually cut it out with my rotary cutter. Then I know that my edges are more exact. Now, is that going to make a difference in the piecing? No, it is not. It just makes it look better on the back with having the seams all be. It's just like when you're doing your regular quilting. And where there is a line on the edge, I am going to put 3/8 of an inch. There's more on the outside of the block, and that will be explained later. And then this one again is 1/4 of an inch. Okay, now I'm going to cut out this one. And this will be 1/4 of an inch all the way around. Missed one little thread there. Let's get this totally out of the way so we have more space. And 1/4 inch and 1/4 inch. There. All right. So now it's all cut out. I've got nice seams, 1/4 inch seams all the way around, and 3/8 inch seams on this one. Okay. Then you want to take a piece of scratch paper. So I'm going to just use the back of this one, because this will get a little bit messy. This would be where you might want to consider using the glue pen instead of, oops, I gouged that a little bit, instead of the bigger glue, just because it'll make it a little bit easier to control, unless you get it on your nail. That was kind of icky. All right. When you're doing the gluing down, you're gluing on the edge of the fabric, then folding it over the edge of the stabilizer. What's really cool here is that that stabilizer is sturdy and strong enough that you're not going to overfold it. And then I like to come from this side and press it. All right. So I like to put the glue on going clockwise. So I started here, go to my next piece, fold it over. And that is going to make these little ends all come out in such a way that they will be able to interlock when the block is assembled, instead of going on top of each other, making it quite big and bulky. So going all the way around on a diamond, it's going to look sort of like this. Okay, now I'm going to smush this one down from the top side. And I do like to take that to an ironing board if possible, but when you're traveling, obviously you can't. So this is going to work great where they're all, I'm going to put a little bit more glue there. I think I got too skimped. There. Okay, so that's one. You'll see that these the dog ears go in opposite directions. See that? That's for when you're having to put glue all the way around. Here, I am going to put the glue around on 3 sides. So again, working clockwise. Start with this one. And here. And then just one more side on this. So again, I'm putting the glue mostly on the fabric, but it might be getting a little bit on the paper, which is not a problem. You just don't need to put a ton down. There's some things I do where I put lots of glue down. This is actually not one of them. So I'm going to cap that. So now this is an edge piece. An edge piece will always have one side that is not glued down. All right? Inside pieces, all glued down. Outside pieces, not all glued down. After you've taken your, I wonder, maybe I will leave this here. Then you need to use your layout. So I'm going to use my little layout here. And this will tell me how to lay out the design. So if I leave it there, all right. I've got B with a line, and most of them, I think that most of them I made them so that the letters would all be right sides up. Now, I cannot guarantee that happened, but I'm pretty sure that had been my intention. Right? Up here, this is a B. I need to do more gluing on some of these. This one's a B here. B, nope. This one's here. Let's see, that's a B going that way. That, if I make the B stay straight up, this one would go, here it is, up there. So the B is not straight up all the time. I know that I kind of thought that would be cool, but I knew that I was not always making that happen. And I think it's the second ones that I did that make it not always be standing straight up. Right. And then this guy is one of the skinny diamonds, like here. So he's on the outside. He's got the edge that is unglued. And then this is his partner that is already glued. And then this is one that I'm already working on the stitching. So these are together. So there you go. I have my design all laid out. So make sure that you've done this first before you do any stitching so that you're sure that your extra lines, the lines here where you're going to leave your extra, is not going to be glued down and that you have a little bit more fabric. Here I'll be able to glue down all of them. This one is one that just had 2 glued down here and here, but on the point it is not glued down. All right, so get that all organized so that you know that you're ready. I'm going to put this piece over here so we can be doing more stitching. I do like to, with my getting these all ready, I like to take one of those Clover Magic clip kind of things and clip it together so that everything stays organized. All right. Here is this block in rows. So you can kind of get a better feel possibly for how this is going to look, or the one I'm working on. Of course, I'm doing different colors. All right. And if I flip that over from the back side, you can see that the edges all have that extra. The inside is all glued down. And these have already been stitched together. And that takes us to our next step, the stitching them together. Now, I'm going to be showing you this very, very close up. I've got a new camera set up here, and I'm going to show you by hand first. Then I will show you how you can do some or all of it even by machine. Now, why? Why would you do this by machine? Because I know that there's people watching going, why would I do it this way with the glue and the stabilizer and using machine and stuff when I want to do it the traditional English paper piecing technique? Love it. Do it. Go for it. Enjoy it. whatever it takes for you to enjoy quilting. That's the technique that you want to use. What I have found when I'm putting larger pieces together, I love doing the handwork when everything is little small pieces. And I mentioned this in an earlier EPP video that I did, that when you're putting the blocks together, like when you do a grandmother's flower garden, you've got another little flower to go together and then the third one on, that doing all those lines really did not bring me joy. And quilting is to bring me joy. So that's when I started thinking about, why can't I do that part by machine? And what I figured out is I could do the whole thing by machine if I want to, or by hand if I want to. It is truly your choice. What brings you joy in quilting is the things that you should be doing, not the things that make you frustrated. I'm not saying that if you're learning something new, you might not get frustrated. Work through that, because quilting is like anything else. The more you do it, the better you're going to get. Okay, that was a very long sidebar. So now I'm going to take you to a new camera that I have set up. So really, really close. Hopefully not too close. So this is the camera shot. Going to show you a few more of my tools here. This is a needle puller. There are times when you will get the needle into the fabric and you won't be able to pull it out. You will yank on it and it just won't happen. That's what this needle puller is. You'll have your needle caught and you put your, see how it's kind of just like that? And see this little groove here? Don't know if you can see it. Oh yeah, you can. Boy, this is a close-up camera. All right. And you can put that over the needle and then pull it right out. I just find this to be really convenient. And this little guy is from Boheen. Really, really cool little tool. So this is a needle puller, one of those tools you might need to get. This is my preferred needle. I love me a Roxanne's between. I've always liked that for all the things that I do by hand, and sure enough, this is still my favorite. There, turn down the light a bit more. It does come with 50 large eye needles. This is a 10 between, which is a shorter needle like this one. Use whatever needle works for you in terms of the length, but where you don't want to use, what you don't want to use is a needle that is thicker. So a size 10 is telling you the diameter of the needle. The between is telling you that it is a short needle. These are also called quilting needles. You can use a longer needle, but you don't want it to be any thicker than a size 10. That's the diameter. So be sure when you're looking at needles, no bigger than size 10, but then use the needle you are comfortable with. These are the ones I am very, very comfortable with. And then this is the Clover Desk Threader. There's probably a very good possibility that amongst your travels, you have tried to thread a needle and gotten so frustrated you decided hand quilting was not going to be your jam. Well, this is a tool that makes it possible. So it is a Clover needle threader. You'll see it's got 1, 2, 3 for the instructions on how to use it. And this is it. Now keep in mind, sometimes you got to do it a couple times for it to catch, but it's really awesome. I'm going to first take the needle and put it in the number 1 position. Then I'm going to take my thread. And you know what? I already pre-glazed some of that, so I want to get that off. Now I'm going to take my thread and I'm going to put it down into that slot. So it's actually going in here. And holding that loosely, I'm going to push the button, pull up the needle. Nope, didn't work that time. Usually takes a couple of times and then it'll work. Kind of depends on the thread that you're using too. Did it take that time? Oh, all right. You know, the minute I'm on camera, things like this don't work. There, all right. Now it's threaded. So I can just grab that and pull it through. Now I'm going to cut off a piece of thread that's approximately maybe 10 inches long using the little thread cutter here on the number 3. All right. Now I'm going to do a knot. You need to make a knot on the top of the thread so that the needle will not come unthreaded. And this can be quite confusing, so forgive me ahead of time if I got my fingers in your face. But here's my thread. And I'm going to take and crisscross the thread. So here's my short needle, and here is my needle. I'm sorry, here's my short tail of my thread, and here is my needle. And I'm just going to take and wrap the thread over the needle. Then I hold that so that the tail is inside that loop. Pull the long tail, and so here you can see that tail of the thread is inside the loop. Then take that and pull that below the needle, and voila, it will not come off. You can pull that 100 times and it's not going to come off. This is the point where I use the thread magic. After it has already been threaded, take your thread magic, lay it down, and just run it through the thread magic underneath your finger. And this is just a silicone, so this is not going to hurt your quilt, your fabric, or anything. All right. So the next thing I want to do, well, in this case, I'm not going to do it. Sometimes I'll make a knot here, but that's not really necessary for this kind of a project. All right. So here are the two pieces I'm going to put together. And I chose these two pieces because, one's upside down and one's not. So at first I thought I was just being really backwards. I chose these two pieces because this is the kind of ones that will be a little confusing on getting everything just precisely pieced. All right. So I'm going to start here, and on a piece like this, where this is where I want to start on the corner here. I think that's obvious. But it's not obvious where to start on the second piece because it's not folded down. So I will do a temporary creasing here. Just going to crease it. I don't want it to stay folded, but if I make a crease, I then can see where it is that I want those 2 points to connect to. All right, now I need to find my thimble, and we are off. And I am using kind of a brick red color. I think my favorite color is actually a taupey color, but I wanted you to see it a little bit, but I didn't want to use black for this. So now I'm going to take my needle, and I'm going to put it underneath the top fabric and have it come out exactly where it is that I want my first stitch. Okay. Pull it, so now my needle, my thread, let me see, can you see it? There it is. The thread is just underneath the fabric now, so I won't have any extra tails hanging around. And then I want to make a knot here, so I'm just going to grab this corner, just grab just a little bit of thread, pull it through, make a knot. So I'm passing my thread through the loop to make a knot. Boom. So now that is really, really strong, started right there on the edge. Now I'm going to come to that little temporary crease that I made here, this guy here. And I'm going to grab that with my thread and needle. Got to get my thread and needle in hand. So right there is that crease, right there. That tells me that that is the point that I want to match up with the other point. I'm hoping this isn't too bright for you to see. It's like I worry about lighting all the time in the videos. Is it too bright? Is it too dark? Oh my goodness, normally too dark is more of an issue. There. So now I brought them right together on that point. Now I'm going to take a little stitch right here. Oops. It's harder to do when I'm looking farther away from myself. And again, I'm going to pass my needle through that loop to make a knot. Whoops, there it goes. So boom, now I have a really nice knot. I like to take my first 2 stitches from the top, which might seem counterintuitive. Let me see if you can see this. Maybe that way. I'm going to take my stitch going under that gray fabric right at the edge. Then I'm going to reach over and grab a little bit of that purple fabric right there. Okay, so these first couple of stitches I like to do on top for a couple of reasons. One, I'm double checking, making sure that my fabric didn't move, but also because on the back there is a little tail covering and it can be kind of hard to get it lined up. So there we go. Now I'm going to pass it through the gray fabric all the way to the back. So I'm going to pass it through, fold this in half, and now I can do the traditional English paper piecing stitch. So I've got my 2 folded edges right there together, right? Going to fold this little tail out of the way so I don't stitch that. And I'm going to just take a whip stitch between the two. 1, 2. Pull. 1, 2. Now these stitches, you don't want them to be bigger than 1/8 of an inch apart because that's approximately the size that your sewing machine takes a stitch. So if you think about, your quilts that you make, are strong, right? They're going to last hundreds and hundreds of years with any luck whatsoever. And this stitch will do the same thing. Just holding the two together, whip stitching it as you go. Now do consider there's some times that you'll be working and you will find that it doesn't seem to want to come out even, and I'm going to show you how to take care of that in a second. All right. So you will do that stitching all the way down to the other point, and when you're at the other point, you will do a lock stitch there. So can you see those stitches? In a way, I want you to be able to see the stitches, but in a way, I don't want you to be able to see the stitches. When you open that up, you should not be able to see the stitches. And I think that's about as close as I can get without blinding us all, showing those stitches. So here is another one that I was working on. This one had a cream-colored thread. Again, you really can't see the stitches. You can see that there was a needle there. And then from the back side on this one, kind of the same idea. All right. Now, there are some times that you will be working on a piece and you'll think that things aren't coming out right. Like, you started on this end of the diamond, you had it all lined up, and then by the time you get about halfway through, you think, oh no, one of those pieces has moved forward and now I've got, I don't know, 1/4 of an inch extra. And I'm going to show you how I fix that. I just got to find the piece I got prepared for that. All right. So sometimes you'll be working on a piece and you've got to put an exact match together. So whenever possible, try to work from the inside out. So let's start with that. So on this piece for the number 17 block, I started my stitching on the inside and went all the way out. Because the truth is if this ends up being a little longer than that one or comes out in some way, it won't matter. And I'll explain why when we get to this next step. But there's times that you're kind of working on a piece like this that has this really important center match. I really needed that to match. So let's go to that little close-up camera and see if you can see that. Yeah, I needed that center to match. So when that happens, I will start stitching in the center and then stitch out, then start another line from the back side here and stitch the other way. That way I can get those pieces that are important to match up really nicely. Then there's times that you'll be working on one, and I don't think that I have one in process, but you'll be working on one and you'll think, oh my goodness, this black guy, maybe he's going to come out longer than he was supposed to. Now that'd be a little extreme, but let's go extreme on this one. That he's going to come out longer. I might take and start stitching from this side, then cut my thread, come to the other side, line that up where I want it to start here, and then start stitching to the middle. And you might get what looks sort of like a little bump going on there, but just keep stitching and ease that in, and I'll show you a little bit of that by machine too. That will get these ends to match up as precisely as possible. Now you'll notice I never once have said it will match up perfectly, because it probably won't. You're looking for really nice. Athena says, don't let perfection be in the way of completion or something like that. I'm not sure how she says it, but pretty much it's like, do your best. This is art. There's nobody to tell you your art is not good enough, but you're just trying to get things as precise as possible. So that will help. If you start on one side and then on the other side and work your way into the middle, that will help with some of your intersections. All right, so that is how I like to complete the project when working by hand. So I will do all the little individual pieces generally in one row by hand. So if I were starting this one and I wanted to do the rest by hand, I would want these intersections to match up. So I would get a knot going here from the top side, making sure that matches up. Then I would flip it over and start working across to the end or to the edge of the block. So starting in the middle, working out. And if I got to the point where I thought this was not going to line up, maybe sticking over a little bit, I would stitch from here to about here, stop, then come here, match that intersection up, and come all the way. And again, on the outside ones, start here, then work your way out. So if you're doing it by hand, but what about if you want to do it by machine? So doing this section by machine, for me, is what makes English paper piecing fun. I love doing that little bit when I'm upstairs or I'm traveling, just got a little, don't want to, can't bring my machine or something. Love doing that hand stitching, the gluing down, getting all of that prepared, and then do the hand stitching on the small pieces. But when it gets to the point where I've got two long lines, or even some lines, might go, I'm trying, like this guy right here. Here he is, where he goes down and over. Or to put this one on, I had this section on first to the black section. So then this was up, over, and down. So when there's those strange intersections like that, I find it a lot easier to work by machine. So for your machine setup, first, I'm going to recommend an open toe applique foot. That will make a huge difference because then you can see what you're stitching because your foot is open, doesn't have a piece of metal or plastic running across the top. It'll be open by 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch depending on your machine and the foot that you find. So that's step one. Step two is to get a 60 Microtex needle. Now that is one of the supplies I will link below. The 60 Microtex needle is the smallest needle that can be used in our domestic machines. And I've got a FAF, but the 60 would work in any of the brands of machines. Next is to put a fine weight polyester in the bobbin. Oh, can we do that? Can we put a polyester in when we're piecing a quilt? We can. Yes, 99% of the time I'm going to piece it all with a 50 weight cotton because I need those edges, the seam allowance to work out, and it's more secure without jeopardizing your fabric with the polyester and the fabric. But in this case, we're putting that fine weight polyester on the bobbin. So when I'm talking fine, I'm talking possibly a 60, 70, or 80 weight thread. Superior bottom line is one that I like, and Wonderfill has one too, I think it's called Invisifil, and that's an 80. The idea here is you need the thread on the bobbin to be very, very fine because you're going to put invisible thread in the top. Now you need to make sure that your invisible thread is a good quality. I don't care if it's polyester or nylon. I haven't found a difference. I'm sure there's somebody out there that has, but for me, either one works great. And you want to have a 0.004 monofilament. That's the invisible. Most invisible threads on the market today, this is 2023, are going to be 0.004. But there are some manufacturers that don't make it that fine yet. And it can be very hard to do this stitch if you don't have that fine weight. So make sure it's the 0.004. I like the Superior has a good one and Sulky has a good one. Those are probably the two that I choose most often, but there are some really good brands out there. All right. Then I'm going to set my machine up with a small zigzag. So a normal zigzag, so not like a double or anything, but a small zigzag that will be anywhere from 1.0 width to possibly 1.5, depending on your machine. And the length of it, I want the stitches to be from a zig, so from zig to zig, I want it to be 1/8 of an inch. On the machine I'm using today, this is my FAF machine, that is a 1.0 width and a 1.0 length. But that will depend on you and your machine. So now we're going to go to the machine and I'll show you that stitch. So I'm here at my machine and I have set it up, like I said, with my open toe applique. I do have a leader here that I work with in my 60 millimeter. And the idea is I'm just going to zigzag the two pieces together. So I'm going to first match up this intersection down at the bottom. I'm looking at that going, all right, that matches up very nicely. Then one of these is going to go over the top of the other. And I'm going to start my zigzag. Oops. Starting with the leader is going to make it helpful so your threads don't get caught. Sew in a little bit, then do a locking stitch. Remember, the edges of these have been trimmed to 3/8 of an inch. So if you make your locking stitch right at the very, very edge, it might get trimmed off. All right. Slow and easy, slow and easy. It is zigging, it is zagging. That is pretty much it. I don't think that, you cannot understand how that works. Now, there's some times where you might need to, this one is matching up very, very nicely, but there's sometimes if you need to adjust it, let's say I needed to scooch this guy up and make that a little bit of a bubble, you can ease that in one little stitch at a time. I'll use an awl or a very sharp seam ripper with a nice long handle to help me position those when I need to. So let me get to the end of this particular diamond and then see how that middle diamond section is working. Yeah, everything's going to line up nicely, so I'm not going to be able to show you that kind of fitting them together, but it's possible. Hold them really close together as you're doing it. You might want to put some lickety grip or something on your fingers that sort quick so that you can keep these two pieces together, and you'll just zigzag all the way through and then make a knot on the other side. That's how it works by machine. And you can do all the little parts by machine. You could do big parts by machine. You could do little parts by hand, big parts by hand. The world is your English paper piecing oyster. You can do with it whatever you want, however you want to get it done. So now we're to the next step. So I have gotten one here, and I've worked on it, and I intentionally, if you look at the back sides, there they are, all my little ABCs, my extra edges going here. This one I already did trim. I don't think that I might not have one that I can truly trim, but I'll get you the idea. But what I really want you to notice here is the state that it is in. It's a tad bit on the wrinkly side. All right. With all the handling that you do, that polyester is going to kind of keep that shape, the stabilizer will. So I'm going to run over to my ironing board and I'm going to give it a little bit of spray sizing with I'm going to use there it is, the Magic Quilting and Crafting Spray. This is a spray sizing. There's this one from Magic. There's also Mary Ellen's Best, whatever you like for spray sizing. And I'm going to take this over to my iron, going to give it a little bit of a spray sizing, and I'm going to press it out. And you're going to be just so amazed by how beautifully flat it will be. You want to make sure that you completely dry it. This is also a time when you can make sure that all of your little tail ends are where you want them. So here we have it. So now, remember how wrinkly it was? No problem. It comes out beautifully flat. Okay, so now I'm going to make myself a little bit more space to show you how to trim these down. So in this case, these blocks are supposed to finish 8 inches. So what I like to use for the trimming down of this is my 8.5-inch ruler. So this is the one by OmniGrid. And what I love is it's 8.5 inches, and that's what I'm going to trim it to. And I love that it has all the angles down here. Diamonds are a 60-degree angle. So right here I've got on my OmniGrid, there's my 60-degree. There it is going the other way. Keeping in mind, a 30-degree is the same thing. It just looks different. But in terms of this angle and this angle, it's the same. So you'll be using most of your 60, but possibly your 30. Then from the back side of your block, you want to trim so that the points, here, let me move that down a little bit. Get this lined up. So that the points of the project are going to be 1/4 of an inch from the edge. Maybe they'll be easier to see from the other side. There we go. I knew there was a way. So you see this point, and this point. I want that point to be at least 1/4 of an inch from the edge. So if I place that at the 1/4 of an inch of the ruler, you'll see that I have extra here sticking out, but on the other side, I wouldn't have extra. So it's okay for the point to be farther than 1/4 of an inch, but not less than 1/4 of an inch, or else you will lose that point. So line that up. I kind of will analyze the block, looking it through. Then I'm going to cut it. Now this has already been trimmed, so you're not going to see any actual threads coming off. Then turn it. Now, when I've got it turned, I'm going to use, this is the edge that I just trimmed, I'm going to lay my 60-degree angle on that edge. All right, so now with my line 60-degree angle here, also looking at the points, making sure I'm not cutting off points and such, then I could trim this side. Then I would take and spin it around again. This time, my 60-degree angle is this one, and I'll line that up at the 60-degree angle, check out all my points, trim this side. Then just pick up the ruler and spin the block. Now I'm going to line it up with the 60-degree on this side and trim that block. So you're just moving the block one turn at a time. So here, 60-degree here, trim, turn, 1/4 turn. Now 60-degree here. Now turn, 1/4 turn. So that, because I just trimmed that edge. So now that trimmed edge is going to be at the bottom on the 60-degree angle and trimmed. Okay, so that's how you're going to trim it. Now, if you're not used to using the angles on your ruler, just stick with it. Maybe you practice on a piece of muslin or ugly fabric that you don't know why you bought in the first place, and that could be a good practice time for doing your 60-degree angles. Once you got all your diamonds done, well, then, of course, you can put it together however you want. In the book, it's put together this way, where I've done a 2-inch sashing and 2-inch diamonds. The templates are there. They are a 60-degree, so you can just cut a 2-inch strip and the measure 8.5 by 8.5, and that will get you the sashing template that you need. And then the diamonds are a 2-inch 60-degree diamond. So kind of that, you can use the templates. Go ahead, maybe cut them out of freezer paper. That might help you also. With these larger sections, the setting triangles on the top and the sides, with those, I tell you the measurement in the book, I think it might be 9.5 inches. And then you're kind of just cutting up, down, getting you the shapes that you need for your setting triangles on the top and the sides. And the corner triangles, keeping in mind, as opposed to a traditional on point, where the setting top triangles and side triangles can be the same size. And this, it's not. They are different. So you've got what I call the fat triangles on the top and the skinny triangles on the side, and then corner triangles. This one, though, is pieced a little bit differently. As I mentioned, that is part of the Quilt As You Go using the easy sashings. There will be a video coming shortly. So if you're watching this in 2029, just go to a couple more videos and then you'll be able to find the easy sashing video. It should be coming out sometime here in the beginning of September 2023. If you have any questions, you know where to reach me. quiltingwithnancy@gmail.com. If you are a member of my channel and you want the electric quilt file for this so that you can play with your own colors, just send me an email. Say, hey, Nancy, I'm a member. Can I have a copy of that electric quilt project? And I'll say, yes, you can. The products that I've used, those are all listed below. You can just click right into that. And the book. The book is my Diamonds English Paper Piecing by Hand or Machine, available on my website. I hope you enjoyed this video and have a great day.